Well, we finally succumbed to the inevitable. Up until today, the team here at Sway Health has been resisting the temptation to use ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or any of these AI platforms for one of our videos. But after intense lobbying from Brittany's Roomba and My Smart TV, we've decided to test ourselves to see if we can guess the most popular answers to the questions healthcare marketers have been posing to ChatGPT. You're not going to believe the answers to the question of what tasks healthcare marketers are using ChatGPT for the most. Let's get to it.
Sway Health.
Brittany, welcome to the program.
Colin, thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
We're in a, again, not this cozy setting as when we film in your studio, but
Right.
this one, it's
This
all
is a
right.
more professional studio.
Thank you for saying that, as we can't see the mess that's behind here.
I mean, but that's a true studio, right? Like, you don't know what's behind the curtain, right?
Yeah, one day we'll have to do behind the scenes, but definitely not today. Well, Brittany, I'm excited for today's episode because we're doing something a little different. It's almost like, and it was your idea, and I love it. You had the idea of like those autocomplete style interviews, but this time we're going to let ChatGPT kind of comment and be almost like a third person here with us.
Yeah, we're kind of calling it, AI says and Sway responds. So, we have a question, and I have two questions that I'm going to ask you, that you know the questions, but you don't know the answers. And I've asked ChatGPT, their answer, what is the most popular answer you're getting? So it's going to be fun to compare what your answer is to what ChatGPT says to the question. So I think it's going to be fun. And then you're going to ask me some questions that I don't know either. So I think it's going to be a little fun reveal. Maybe our answers will be the same, or maybe we'll be completely off base. I don't know.
There you go. Like, we'll see. And we'll see how interesting. And so just to caveat, what we asked ChatGPT to do was essentially give us what healthcare marketers are using ChatGPT to search on these topics. So
Correct.
This is essentially a popularity answer, so which is the top or which is the best. So
right.
All right, well, let's get started. I'm going to get started. Well, actually, no, you're going to start. Why don't you start first?
Okay, yeah, so I start. So the first question that I am asking you is, what word do you think is most overused by healthcare marketers according to ChatGPT? So this is kind of a little bit of a switcheroo on some of the questions that you asked our folks at healthcare conferences of what the word you want to retire. But I'm curious, what is the most overused word healthcare marketers use according to ChatGPT, in your opinion?
In my opinion. Well, I think one word that we overuse, and not necessarily a bad thing, but I just think it's everywhere, is workflow. I think I would say workflow probably appears in a lot of stuff that I see. Like, we improve this workflow, clinical workflows. That, if not that word, I would say probably burnout. I think a lot of people would use the word burnout. Like, we help solve burnout. And then my third guess would be efficiency. Like, we help people be more efficient. I gotta tell you one though. I would suspect the word that we most overuse that shouldn't be there though is probably the word shift. I think when you put stuff in ChatGPT, it tends to spit back the word shift.
Yes,
a lot.
So, I agree.
If I had to pick one word, it'd be like the word shift is probably a sign that you've probably used a little too much ChatGPT.
I agree with those, because I think we probably all tend to use the same words. The one word that they said was most, overused by healthcare marketers was innovative.
Innovative, really?
So everybody is using it in their content, or are talking about that they are innovative, or this platform's innovated, or we're innovated, and it's a safe word because corporate likes it.
Sure.
It sounds impressive, but what ChatGPT is saying is that it really kind of doesn't really describe what you're doing, or isn't actually different. What people really want is for you to say, use words of actually how your product or your platform is different, or why it matters, or, who and what it benefits. So try to use words other than just the generic statement of like, we're innovative. It's, how can you actually pick words that really describe what you do, the benefits of it, and, who it helps.
I like that actually. I would
Mhm.
not. Now I think about it, it sort of makes sense.
Mhm.
But that's interesting that innovation or innovative is used so much by healthcare marketers. And the interesting thing is, from a marketing's perspective, it's hard to quantify. Like it's
Mm,
meaning you can't say you're top of something because that's
right.
easy to figure out whether it's true or not. But
Mhm.
when you say you're innovative, that's sort of like, oh, okay, all right. Well, how do you prove that, right? Everyone has a different definition of that.
It's so funny you said that because one of the caveats that ChatGPT said is that if everybody's innovative, then nobody really is.
Exactly.
Right? So
That's
it's
very
like
true too.
very, very funny.
All right, well, maybe, oh, that's cool. I like that. This is fun, actually.
Mhm.
So let me ask you. Okay, here's the question I'm posing to you that I asked ChatGPT. Brittany, what city do you think healthcare marketers
Mm.
ask ChatGPT the most about when they're planning their own events?
Mhm. I thought about this and I was going to go rogue. Um, but I thought, like, what is the most? So I think, so there's a caveat to my answer. So I'm going to go with number one was Nashville.
Mm.
And why I say that is because I think it's like the up and coming place that people are wanting to hold conferences. Every other conference you hear or see about is in Nashville. You know, it's warm but not too warm. You know, there's a lot to do on Broadway. You know, there's a lot of, sightseeing you can do, and it's, relatively not super expensive to do. So I'm going to say potentially Nashville. My caveat is I wonder if Vegas and Orlando are also in that mix because all of the conferences are in those areas.
Well, Brittany, you are just as smart as
Ooh!
ChatGPT.
Oh my gosh, great.
So number one is Vegas.
Okay.
Number two is Orlando.
Huh.
And then I think Nashville was in the top 10. I don't
Hmm.
remember exactly the number, but Las Vegas number one, apparently by a far margin.
Hmm.
It was saying it was double the searches or comments of Orlando.
Hmm.
What was interesting was when I asked ChatGPT, it spat back to me and said, it's not that people want to plan conferences there, but they want to plan outings, they want to plan
Hmm.
dinners, they want to plan what can we do with a bunch of executives in these cities, like
Mm-hmm.
take them to Top Golf and stuff. So
Hmm.
it was more around the stuff around conferences, which makes sense because all the big ones tend to go to these places like
Mm-hmm.
Vive, Hims, and so forth. What was surprising to me was actually city number 3 and 4.
Hmm.
City number 3 was Chicago,
I love that.
and city number 4 was San Diego.
Ooh, okay.
So, and number 5 was Boston, just to
Hmm.
complete the top 5.
Hmm.
So,
I mean, great places. I feel I do love I do wish that more conferences were in Chicago because I love it, but it is tricky because it's cold most of the times of
yeah,
the year, right? So I do, I hope in the next couple of years there are, more variety of where we're going for conferences because it does feel like we're always going to Orlando or Vegas. You know what I mean? It's like we're going West Coast, East Coast. But we're kind of tied by our hands of how big of a venue certain conferences can do. But maybe in the next couple of years we'll be going to other places on that top 10
hope so.
list.
I hope so.
Okay, so my next question for you that I asked ChatGPT, and as we talk about conferences, is what conference have healthcare marketers asked ChatGPT the most about?
Oh, well, that's a good one. I'm gonna have to go. I Oh, healthcare though. Okay, so it's all across healthcare. I was gonna say Hims.
Hmm.
I would say Hims is definitely one of the larger conferences, so therefore a lot more people
Mm-hmm.
would be inquiring about it. Plus, I think also just like the amount of vendors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, asking about is it worth it? Where is it? Timing and stuff like that. I would say Hims or RSNA, just because it's so large in North America. The one maybe in Europe I would go with would be Medica.
Hmm.
So Medica is like the largest healthcare device, software, everything and everything conference. It feels like 18 football fields or something. I've been there one time.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say one of those three. HIMSS, RSNA, or Medica.
Okay. So I was specific about healthcare marketers. So does that
Oh,
change your
okay.
answer?
Oh, healthcare marketers. Oh, well, from a marketing standpoint, I mean, the big ones would be HCIC, HMPS, maybe something like Content World or something like
Hmm.
that. Maybe, or maybe even HubSpot's like conference.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go with one of those.
So interestingly enough, the answer that ChatGPT gave me, and I don't know if it's trying to stroke my ego or anything, but it said Sway Health Live.
Yes. That's amazing.
I was like, there's no way. That has to just be because I'm, feeding that information
Sure.
into my own, agent. So I was like, oh, wow, this is great.
That is awesome, actually. I never would have thought that, but that's pretty
No.
cool.
So, I mean, who's to say if someone else asked the
Sure.
question, would it come up differently? But then, so the next on the list was, you're right, HMPS,
Right.
HCIC, and health. So they were
Oh.
saying a lot of marketers are going to health, although, it's not specifically for healthcare marketers. But they said, those are kind of the top three that people are asking about.
I like that.
Mhm.
It is interesting that health is on that list because, I mean, it's a mega conference, right?
Mhm.
And it does have extremely high production value, as we know. But yeah, like I wonder what they're getting out of it. Maybe it is just to kind of get inspired or get some ideas, or maybe it's just because they have to have such a high production value that they have to go.
Yeah. I was shocked though that like Vibe and Hymns weren't part of even the list. I mean, I could have probably dug deeper to say, what's the top 10 list, and I'm sure they would have been on there, because a lot of marketers do go to those conferences and are planning them and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, it didn't make the cut.
But also maybe because those are been around a lot longer. Like,
Maybe.
Vive with Chime, right? It's been there for, so maybe people aren't like curious about it. They're like, oh, I've been there, or there's someone on my team that knows
Been there,
it.
done that.
Been there, done that. I don't need to know anymore. But
Mhm.
health is still sort of new, right? Like,
So they're like doing more investigative work,
Yeah.
maybe or some research into that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
potentially.
I don't know, who knows? But
Mhm.
okay. All right. So last one for you, Brittany. What do you think healthcare marketers are using ChatGPT for the most? Again, specific to healthcare marketers.
Mm-hmm. I feel like what we would think that it would say, and I'm going to say this, and I think we kind of had this conversation, is probably content building, but
Mhm.
I have a caveat with that. So I was saying, okay, let's flip it. If it's not content building, I would say it's strategy and planning. So things like,
Ooh.
market research, brainstorming, kind of planning a campaign or planning it out, kind of like that foundation of marketing of like, build out a structure for this, or let's do some research on this specific project. And then, okay, how can I build out, a marketing strategy based on this?
Wow. You are once again very accurate according to ChatGPT. Yes. Number one was content.
Right.
And again, by a very wide
Landslide.
margin. Number two, interestingly, was conference planning or event planning. So a lot of a lot of uses for ChatGPT around event planning, mostly for checklist things, as well as recommendations for cities.
Right.
Funny enough, or places. So that's kind of cool. Number three was your strategy. But what was interesting about that, and number four was not creating content, but validating content, and taking on personas. So it was more like persona work. But what was interesting is that they're using it to validate strategy versus create strategy.
Right.
So it was very careful to say it was not being asked to create a strategy for X or Y, but it was more to validate, like, would this strategy make sense for their kind of organization? Would this strategy resonate with this audience, this kind of persona? So, and I think about that and I go, that's actually really cool, because before, that kind of work required consultants and a really big spend. So a lot of smaller and mid-sized companies probably just had to go with their gut, right? But now you could tap into ChatGPT and get some sense of, hey, is this going to work or not? And I can't comment on the how
accurate.
Good.
Yeah.
But it definitely is pretty cool if people are using it that way.
And that makes total sense. And I think we were having this conversation the other day about the validation, right? And ChatGPT is so good at like validating what you're saying or what you're feeding it, and what it gives back to you. So it makes a lot of sense. Like if you've built something and you're like, okay, here's kind of where I'm going with this, is what I'm thinking. How do you think the market would react? Or, what do you think? oh, you are on the right track, Brittany. You got this. This is great. And, you could tweak it a little bit. Like, it's just, there's such a, they are such a good validator, a words of affirmation person to give back to you as you're trying to, really kind of suss out if something's going to work or not. Like you said, I don't know, how accurate that is or where they're kind of pulling that validation from, but they're very good at it.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because I know for a while some people didn't like that,
Mm,
and in fact, one of the versions of ChatGPT took that away, and people complained.
right.
More people complained because they not that they want that affirmation, but it is nice to see like,
Hmm.
hey, on the screen, great idea, you're on the right track, or
Yeah,
just a little bit of tweaking and it'd really be good, right? Like
for
I'm
sure.
like, wow, this is I
It's
like
great.
this.
It is. I love it. I think one of my love language is words of affirmation. So when I get those, I'm like, this is great. I feel really good about myself.
I know it's fun, but I am like this kind of for me. Like I've done a lot of work with personas now in ChatGPT, and I
Mm-hmm.
find it really helpful,
Hmm.
especially when I'm thinking through, um, you know, as I've literally done this where I said, hey, I'm going to this conference,
Mm-hmm.
which is targeted, and by the way, here's the website for the agenda and all this other stuff. Um, if I was an audience member of Sway, which is, and I list out this giant set of criteria,
Mm-hmm.
what what would you want to know if
Mm.
you couldn't go?
Right.
And that kind of helps me direct me as to who I might want to get on camera, which session I might want to go to.
Hmm.
And I find that really helpful, but it is really good at taking on this giant persona that I've built up over the last year of
Mm-hmm.
using it, where it's very specific on like the age, the where they were, okay,
Hmm.
what their challenges are,
Hmm.
and when it comes back and says these are the sessions or these are the things that I would want to know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, I would not have
I've
thought
thought
of
about
that.
that.
Yeah. Or
Hmm.
it would have taken me a long time to get there,
For
right?
sure.
Now
Yeah.
some of them I'm kind of like, I don't think that's right, but
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
but at least it gives you that clue. And I think that's where it can be really cool and really powerful for marketers.
I totally agree. It's great what it can do in a condensed period of time, right? Things that back in the day when we used to do personas, it was a
Oh yeah.
week of like meeting and figuring it out, and um, and I still think it's probably that process, but I think it's like cut some time down in terms of summarizing the information and kind of getting it into a framework and kind of giving you that first draft that you can kind of look at and run with or alter as you need to.
Yeah, no, this is fun. We got to do this again. This was a really fun
Right?
one. Really great
I
idea.
know. So fun. We're the new Wired, you know?
There you go. Yeah, we got to get one of those boards we can rip off.
Exactly. Oh, I actually saw one the other day, and the two people that were on it were Jack Black and Paul Rudd because they're promoting this new
The
movie.
Anaconda.
Yeah, Anaconda. But they had to call out the person who made the board with the things that rip off because they made it so seamless, and they brought her on anyways, and she got her 5 minutes of fame. But they really said this is such a good segment, and you guys do really great work. So we'll just keep tapping into the trendy
There you go.
viral trends,
There you
I
go.
guess.
Well, Brittany, thank you so much for being on the program today and for this fantastic idea for the episode.
Yeah, it was fun. We'll have to do it again.
That conversation was a ton of fun, but there was a purpose to it. I hope Brittany and I were able to show you just how useful ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and other AI platforms can be for market research. Now, I wouldn't base your entire strategy on the information it spits back at you, but I do think there are some very valuable insights that you can glean when you ask it how it is being used. I look forward to the next time Brittany and I do this style of video again. And hey, if you made it this far in the video, we'd really appreciate it if you could mash that like button, click subscribe, or write a nice comment below. Also, head over to Swaay Health, that's Swaay with 2 A's, .health, where you can find more great content like this. I'm Colin Hung. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.